Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to be talking with you here in Los Angeles about Black Rain and your role in it. But first of all, I have to tell you that I am from Fort Worth, Dallas, and you were born in Fort Worth.
Yeah, yep.
And how long did you stay there?
My dad was in the Air Force, and he was at Carswell Air Force Base, and so I was born at the Air Force Base, and he was in the Air Force for 4 years, so we were there for 4 years.
Do you have any recollections of Fort Worth?
No, I don't, except that every summer we would go from, my family moved back to St. Louis. My folks are from Illinois, and they moved back to St. Louis, but every summer we'd go down to Texas to visit their friends from the service who stayed in Texas. And the whole time I was growing up, my father always threatened to move us back down there because he loved Texas. And he now lives there. And he works at DFW Airport for American Airlines.
So he lives in Fort Worth?
Yeah, he lives in Hearst.
In Hearst?
Yeah.
Well, I must get his number, and when this runs, I'll call him and tell him, hey, your kid is...
Great, great. He'd love that.
And what does he do at DFW?
He works in operations.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your role in Black Rain, because you play a club hostess, and I don't know of any comparable sort of club in this country, is there?
There isn't. There is not a comparable club. Maybe I went to the Playboy Club one time, where the club felt more living room like, as opposed to just a bar with tables. You know, there was some sense of trying to take care of comfort, right, as opposed to hard wooden chairs. So that's what the hostess clubs look like in Japan. They're very comfortable little, like, living room things. But the thing that makes them unique is that there are women that don't just come and, you know, what do you want to drink? You know, here's your bourbon on the rocks. It's not like that. The woman is assigned to the man the minute the man walks in the door. In fact, sometimes there are 2 women assigned to a man. And basically they sit on each side of him, or, you know, to the side of him if there's just one, and treat him like, you know, a Greek god. I mean, just literally feeding him, offering him drinks, you know, patting him, holding his hand. They want to dance with you, you dance. So it's sort of bizarre. It's like having a love slave, you know, for a couple hours.
Now, you actually did that to get the feel of the role, didn't you?
Yeah, I only worked one shift. I got the feel of the role very quickly. 1 8-hour shift was all I needed. I didn't feel like I needed to do that more than that. It was a very bizarre feeling. There's a moment where I was having fun. It was like dropping all political, you know, and feminist positions, and going into some other role that goes against everything that I was taught or am comfortable with. And as an actress, that was fun to do because it was play. It wasn't for real. I didn't do that for a living. Then there were times during the evening where I just felt very lonely and very objectified. You know, nobody saw me. They just enjoyed the package and what I might, you know, do for them.
And the girls then are paid a salary?
Yeah, they're paid a very good salary. I mean, these girls are making, if you start a starting hostess club bar, hostess, yeah, makes, you know, as much as $50,000 a year. You know, cocktail waitress, it's not exactly that. And then they make more from their client. You know, they can pick up extra cash from the clients that come in and request them. And, you know, a lot of them have, like, sugar daddies and stuff like that. Although it's not it's not a hotbed of prostitution either.
They're not brothels.
No, there's nothing going on there. Now, you know, they might meet the men later somewhere else, but nothing there.
Do you find that women in Japan are a lot less liberated than we are?
Well, I asked a lot of women, Japanese women, about that, and the women that I talked to, you know, were attempting to be as liberated as they could be. You know, some were in the corporate structure, and some were, you know, working on the film. they're very frustrated, the women in Japan, I think, because it is such a male-oriented society, and the women's role is very valued, but it is restricted, and the women who don't get married and have their sons, they don't get married, and they don't, the ones I talked to were really struggling. They were really struggling, and it's not an easy country to have it all. We're always talking about having it all here. You have your career, family, love, the American way. And in Japan, it's very hard to do that because it's not looked upon very, very nicely.
Your character says that she has been there in Japan for 7 years. Could you see yourself staying in Japan?
Nope. I really hoped that by the time I left Japan, I would be able to see it. Or at least by the time I got ready to do my work, I would be able to see it. And I never could see it. I could not, unless I had, my family in Japan, it's not a place I'd choose to be. And I know that Japan is many people's favorite country. But it wasn't. Maybe it was the circumstances. I was over there, and I was just kind of lonely. So I couldn't imagine being there 7 years.
Was it, though, a good experience to make the film?
Oh yeah, no, it was a great experience making the movie. As soon as the car picked me up to take me to work, I was a very happy girl. Ridley is, aside from having one of the greatest visions cinematically, he, is a very gentle director to work with. He's very intense, and he's always thinking and figuring out what to do next. But he comes over to you and says what he wants. For a director who's very visual, he had a very good communication with the actors. And Michael is, he's like Superman. He's directing, producing, acting. He didn't direct this, but he's doing so much at one time. And then in his camper on the time off, he's on the phone doing all the other things. So, and then Andy is just, he's just a piece of work. He's really...
I agree.
Yeah.
A piece of work says it.
Piece of work.
Kate, I've enjoyed talking with you, with a fellow Texan, because born in Texas, you're a Texan no matter.
Exactly. That's what my father said.
Right. It's nice talking with you, and I hope Black Rain does really well for all
Great.
of you.
Thanks.
Thanks.